Well, welcome everybody. Holy cow, look at all of the people. I think this is definitely a sign of how much excitement is happening right now. If you're anything like me, this is pretty epic, and this is going to be monumental for every single one of you that are on here tonight and every single one of the people on your team. We're super excited. I know Megan and I were kind of nerding out over the last couple of days looking up a bunch of stuff just to point out to you guys tonight. So Megan is going to get started with her first half of the info, and then you guys will see me again towards the end.
Thanks, Patience. So how we're going to break it up kind of is I'm going to talk about just the microbiome thing, because that's obviously our new keyword. And then she's going to go into details about like the butyrate and all that kind of stuff. So before I get started, I just want to make sure you guys know the file that I put in the team page yesterday that I got from one of the admins from corporate on one of the Facebook groups. It was this, the marketing material for the new Slim. It has a lot of good information. So after I had started looking up all this stuff, I went and read through that, and it's got pretty much, a good summary of the things I found searching online. So if you haven't seen it, it's on the files tab. Go check it out, print it out, and read through it. Specifically, what I love about it is at the end, it gives you a little glossary, tells you what naturally derived, and then scientifically formulated ingredients are. And then on the next page, it tells you all the ingredients in Slim and which one they are. So if they are natural, if they are naturally derived, or if they are scientifically formulated. So finally, we have a little breakdown. So it's got tons of great information, and it's only like, 5-6 pages? So not too much at all. So check it out. So we'll go ahead and just start. The microbiome. I know a lot of people, I'm sure when you heard that word, you just reverted back to like high school biology, and you have no idea what was going on then, and you still don't now. So, right, what we're really talking about is the gut microbiome. So all the organisms that reside in the gut, that make up the gut. And sometimes you'll hear people call them the microbes. But it's bacteria and all this stuff in the gut, basically. So the reason it's so important is because when you have this dysbiosis, whatever, it's an imbalance in the gut, that's when bad things start happening. And you guys already know about leaky gut. We know the impact that can happen when you have poor gut health. So what happens is, if it's just sitting around, you have this imbalance and you don't do something about it, you're going to start having more severe issues like diseases. So that's where gut health really comes important. And I love this quote from Hippocrates that all disease begins in the gut, and it's true. Especially, you guys see the symptoms of leaky gut, so you already know that. So talking about the gut microbiome, the microbes, so the little microorganisms in the gut, they provide these necessary functions for us. And something that really stuck out to me was when I read about how it helps with metabolic functions. I don't know about you guys, but anytime I hear anything positive about metabolism or metabolic whatever, that is good in my book. I will take it. So it's essential for us to have this good, we talk about gut flora, we've heard that before. It is essential to good health. Something I didn't know before was actually that if you have a healthy gut microbiome, then bacteria can actually produce vitamins. So it's not just the better absorption of vitamins, but it's actually helping to produce them. So good health right there. I mean, it's essential. So what can affect this gut microbiome? We already know poor eating habits, processed foods, that kind of thing. But even your bowel function, you guys have seen the posts going around where that trapped waste, it just leads to toxins getting built up. So, BioCleanse. So bowel function, medications like antibiotics, because it kills the good and the bad. Stress, poor sleep, artificial sweeteners. That's why we have water processed stevia in the Slim. So all of this stuff and more is what's going to upset that balance that you have. So there are a lot of diseases, and I know we're not going to be in public naming the specific diseases, but just to give you guys an idea of how important it is, there's a link between the microorganisms in the gut and cardiovascular disease, obviously irritable bowel disease, inflammatory bowel disease, which we figure rheumatoid arthritis, obesity. So this is why this is so important, why we're combining this prebiotic, and weight loss thing, is because correlated to obesity, colorectal cancer, obviously diabetes, it's a big one for us. So a lot of diseases that are coming down to this imbalance in the gut. So prebiotics. We know a lot about probiotics, but we didn't really, most of us, myself included, didn't know about pre. So what they are basically is non-digestible fiber, and they help grow the good organisms in your gut. Probiotics are going to give you the good bacteria, introduce that good bacteria into your gut, and then the prebiotics are going to basically fertilize that good bacteria. Something I learned was that probiotics actually digest the prebiotics and then use those molecules as energy. So it's all connected. And we had this great probiotic, and now we just have kind of the missing piece of the puzzle. And we have the whole shebang now that's really going to take our gut health to the next level. Something that I found was that some kind of benefits to consuming prebiotics daily. Something I caught, and we've been talking about, I know in the GEMS page, is that this marketing material for the Slim mentions the word anxiety. So we're trying to get clarification if that's something that we can now say in public, that term, and make sure it's compliant. But that's because consuming these prebiotics can help with anxiety, depression, stress. We've talked about a lot of times 90% of serotonin being produced in the gut. Well, prebiotics, why they're helping is because they lower your levels of cortisol. So higher levels are what are linked to mental health disorders. So in this case, we want lower levels. That's what these prebiotics are helping to do. So prebiotics, good for mental health disorders. Another thing is having good bacteria in the colon strengthens the bowel wall. If you guys know about like irritable bowel disease and those kind of things, sometimes it's linked to not having strong enough muscles to push things out, so you get constipated. So you're helping strengthen that, so relieve this constipation. Also, it helps with mineral absorption. They talked about that in the live feed, which a lot of us aren't getting enough nutrients from our food. So if we are getting some nutrients, we need to be able to get the most we can out of them. So add this to what the X Factor does, and it's even better. And then it also helps with regulating hormone production. So something else that is great, we talk about Slim for curbing appetite and that kind of thing. Prebiotics can make you feel fuller faster. So that's why, they mention also in the FAQs about having it, especially if you're concerned with weight loss, drinking it before breakfast. That's the biggie. If you're just doing it for health benefits, as long as you're consistent with it, that's good. But for weight loss, they suggest before breakfast. It'll help you feel fuller and hopefully make better choices through the day. If anybody asks, just because, the general public isn't really as gung-ho about gut health as we are, prebiotics are not going to affect probiotics. They go together. They're like the Bio Brothers, they go together. If you have one and you have another, that's full puzzle. So it's not, I had someone today try to tell me that prebiotics were not good. I was like, no, you need both. So we have the complete puzzle, like I was saying. Time of day, like I just mentioned, doesn't really matter, especially when it comes to prebiotics, as long as you are consistent with it. And in the marketing material, it talks about if you miss several days, just days of taking a prebiotic, then this imbalance can start happening again, which is great for us because that means people need to take their Slim and they need to stick with it. You know, a lot of times people used to ask us, well, do I really need to keep drinking the Slim once I get, you know, to my health goal or whatever the case may be? Well, now we have something where we can tell them, no, you need this prebiotic and you need to be getting it. Yes, people will tell you I can get prebiotics in food. Yes, you can, because I'll talk about that in just 1 second. And it is from food. So the XOS, the xylo-oligosaccharide, I think it is. But the XOS, it is a prebiotic fiber. Bamboo shoots, fruits, veggies, milk, honey. You can get it from that. But here's the problem is most of us aren't eating a balanced diet to be getting all of that stuff. That's why we need Plexus and we need the tool, because we are obviously missing something, and that's why we are not healthy. So yes, you can get it from food, but we wouldn't have all the issues we have nowadays if we were having a balanced diet and getting what we need. So yes, people do need it. So I just wanted to list off real quick. When it comes to, Kristen, when it comes to the thyroid meds, I still would stick with it because we didn't change anything about the Slim except for really adding this prebiotic. So I would still do, I know it was always people suggested half hour to 60 minutes. I saw a lot, but yes, I would still do that for the thyroid medication, Synthroid and all that. Couple things I wanted just to give us an idea of the benefits of having prebiotics. Lower risk for cardiovascular disease, healthier cholesterol levels, obviously better gut health, better digestion, lower stress response, better hormonal balance, higher immune function in the gut, lower risk for obesity and weight gain, and lower inflammation and autoimmune reaction. So those are some obviously benefits. So this XOS is the prebiotic that we're using. You guys have heard people say we got, well, not we, but there are hundreds of studies over it. They chose the right one. That's all I can say is reading all this stuff and the peer review studies. This is what I love is the people that are asking about it. If you really, I'm not trying to, you want to shut someone down, but I have a lot of dietetic friends, so dietitians, and they're big on science-based research, and the trigger words that they're looking for, the key words are peer review studies. Those are what they're interested in. So we have those for this XOS, which is great because now that just adds this extra level of, I guess it makes this more legitimate having these behind us. So XOS peer review studies, and we already talked about what it's found in. It can also have antioxidant effects, blood and skin-related benefits, anti-allergy benefits, anti-infection, anti-inflammatory. So there's a lot of health benefits from this prebiotic. And this was something that I asked about is, the previous Slim had polydextrose. And I don't know if a lot of you got questions about it. I got it here and there, especially from the really health-conscious people. Polydextrose, it was synthetic, but it was a prebiotic, but just not a really great one. So now that is gone, and this XOS has replaced that. So if anybody asks you what's the prebiotic in it, or do your products have a prebiotic, you can simply say that, yes, we have a naturally derived prebiotic in our Slim with peer review studies backing it, and it's the XOS. So just a heads up that we had the polydextrose, it was okay, it wasn't great, and now we have something that is actually really great. So that is what I wanted to talk about about it today. I know she said she learned today that ours is not inulin or carbohydrate derived, so it's the only one in the US that doesn't feed bad bacteria. No, I wasn't going to. That's where I had a debate with someone earlier that she was trying to say that prebiotics can feed good and bad, but this XOS is a good one, a great one, a fantastic one, that they really did their research and picked the best one that they could. So thanks, Erin. That's a really good point to make about it. So that's what I had about it. And now Patience is going to go over a little more detail about when they talked about the increasing the acromancia, so your acromancia dance and all that good stuff.
Hello. So I have a feeling, first of all, that a lot of you may not have seen my face before or may not really know who I am. So just so you guys know, I'm Patience. I've been with Plexus for 3 years. Sadly, probably more of a product user for longer than I probably should have, but this definitely has me stoked. I have a super huge history of probiotics and actually a relatively turbulent childhood when it comes to digestive issues. So this really has kickstarted my nerdy side. I have been reading like crazy. And there are some things that I definitely want to point out to you guys about some of this, because I think you guys are going to encounter some people that are going to kind of look for that. Kind of like Megan had mentioned, there's going to be certain people in your network that are really going to need that educated explanation. And then I think that there are going to be a lot of prospects and a lot of people that you kind of have to simplify things for them. It's very easy to get overwhelmed with a lot of the new terms and a lot of the new ingredients. They may be a little bit intimidating for people. Some of the things that also just maybe even bringing in that upline or other person in your chats with people that may also just kind of help kind of give you an intuition as to what people are going to want to hear, because you and I might be a little different breed as far as what we're going to look up and the things that we love to have in our back pocket. So like Megan said, there's a ton of info out there right now. There's a ton of people that have been very gracious enough to post the studies that they've seen, the different benefits that they've seen. And really, you guys just have to pick and choose what it is that is going to mean the most to the person that you're talking to. So hands down, Plexus has nailed it, okay? Let's just make that real clear right away, because it kind of took me a minute after the big reveal to really let it sink in and really just, I had a whole new pride for this company, and I'm super, super stoked. So I hope you guys kind of get that same feeling, even though we're all kind of being inundated with this kind of information coming in over and over. So basically, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about is the gut-brain connection. Okay, so Megan had mentioned numerous things that it helped, and a lot of people are going to go, well, how is it going to help me with cardiovascular disease, or how is it going to help me with different things like that? And although maybe we can't mention that compliance-wise, so your nervous system, your entire nervous system starts in your guts. That's where it began. There's no doubt about it. You can Google anything under the sun, and it's going to tell you the exact same thing. More recently, however, is when, well, let me back up. So even like Psychology Today and all of these other publications have been noting for decades the connection between your gut and your brain. And now, more recently, just like Plexus is doing, they have found that these certain bacteria, like the prebiotics that we now have in our Slim, they have a special ability. So instead of just lumping them all together, they're pulling apart the different, Akkermansia and all of these different things that have these special abilities to increase things like the GABA receptors. Your bacteria actually can reproduce neurotransmitters, so dopamine, serotonin, all of these things. And I know Megan had mentioned 90% of serotonin is actually in your gut, not in your brain. That's where it comes from. That's where it stems. It regulates everything from mood, sleep, appetite, which I gotta say those three things are probably 90% of our conversations that we have with prospects or with, even with other ambassadors. Obviously when somebody has a regulated level of serotonin, they're going to have a more relaxed, positive feeling. And the second that those serotonin levels start decreasing, that's when we're going to have constipation, diarrhea, IBS, everything under the sun. It directly affects your guts. So, and actually, as I was reading about the Akkermansia, if you have lower levels, you can actually, that's actually where appendicitis a lot of times causes appendicitis, as well as just the IBS and some of the other things that we hear of. So it's not uncommon for other things that we may not deal with on a daily basis to also be affected by it. So depending on how in depth you want to go with your conversations with people, there are so many stats out there that could completely overwhelm one person. So just be cautious of that. Sometimes I make people run away with my geeky technology or terminology. But in essence, what you have to take away from this is that there really isn't even two systems. Okay, there's not necessarily a brain system and a gut system. They are two parts of one system. And I think that's going to help you guys kind of reel people back in to why do I need probiotic or why do I need prebiotics for anything that has to do with mood, anxiety, depression. Huge. I read so many different things that I didn't even know about depression. And we oftentimes will talk to people that are currently on an antidepressant, but your body will build a resistance to that. So this, from what I've read, obviously you're not going to get resistant to your own good gut bacteria. What else? On little side note, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So some of those different facts with the serotonin and different things like that may be very vital actually to starting up a conversation about the new formula and what it can do for people and the new ingredients. And specifically, the best part is if they Google anything, we've got so much information now to back it up, whether they be actually Googling a specific ingredient, a specific symptom, different things like that. It's going to lead them all right back to what prebiotics and probiotics can do. So we really do, like Megan said, have a double whammy. I mean, it's of epic proportion. I mean, even something just, I wrote down some more fun facts just so I wouldn't get totally distracted. So morbidly obese people are 5 times more likely to be depressed. Obviously depression occurs from an imbalance in the chemicals in your brain. So it's going to be very easy for you guys to really tie in these different specific ingredients and different things that these prebiotics are going to do for you. One thing I did not know, I don't know if sometimes you guys have to pull out a little shock value in conversations, but one of the reasons I feel it's so very important for us to share some of this information, and if you have a fear about it, definitely reach out to your uplines, reach out to other people. But did you know that for even depression and different things like that, that they have even considered fecal transplants and electrically stimulating your vagus nerve, which is the nerve that actually goes from your brain cell or your brainstem all the way down to your abdomen? I was kind of freaking out at some of the different options that people had out there. If they're not feeling you when you're talking about plexus, I was a little bit blown away. So I had to throw that out there for you guys, just in case you didn't know. Those are going to be the options of the future if people deny you. So that's why it's so very important for us to share exactly how mild this is going to be and how amazing the response is going to be when it comes to them taking plexus in place of some of their other options out there. And I just recently saw a commercial for another prescription medication. I happened to just go to their homepage, and they say that if you're trying to lose weight and keep it off, that 2 areas of your brain may be working against you. And that really obviously struck a chord with me. But their warnings were, I don't even know. The side effects and the warnings on that were also incredible. So we truly have a responsibility to make sure that people are hearing this information and hearing about how Plexus is so very cutting edge and obviously on top of their game when it comes to what is going to be the very best thing for people. Even just with simple facts, you know, you guys don't have to inundate them, and obviously we want to remain compliant, but any of the ingredients, any of the things like that, if you guys have been following the team pages, there has been awesome information that I've been geeking out over for the last few days. And I think that a lot of it is just going to be figuring out how to talk to people about it and how to remain specific enough and make sure that they understand what your goal is, as far as showing that you're very educated and you've got a lot of scientific stuff in your back pocket, and then simplifying it when need be. So I have like 6 pages of notes here. I'm not sure what I didn't cover, or Megan, if you could help me out, if there's anything maybe I should have covered that I didn't.
Can you cover anything about the butyrate? Do you have that information? Just because I think it would be pertinent for people with autoimmune. Did you study that?
Yes, but apparently I didn't put it in my first 6 pages of notes. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. The butyrate, I just wanted to touch on this because we talk about leaky gut all the time, but the butyrate actually, its job is to create mucosal lining and repair holes in the gut. So for people who have leaky gut and stuff, especially people with autoimmune disorders, that is going to be super important for their healing, because it's going to go through and heal up the linings of your intestines and your colon and seal any holes that might be in there from the leaky gut. So I just wanted to throw that out there too.
Yes, and I think I read the same thing actually about IBS too. Some of those symptoms were just gone. I mean, in comparison to other forms of treatments, and there are options out there.
Yeah. It also is one of the leading bacteria to combat psychological disorders. So that butyrate is what is going to help people with the depression and things of that nature that are going on with individuals. And yes, patients, I think it is the intestinal lining too that it helps with. So that butyrate is pretty important. I know everybody's going to be focused on the bacteria that helps them lose weight, the AXX or whatever. I still can't say it. Yeah. But the butyrate is a really big one that's going to really help people on overall health.
Yes, I agree. I was amazed at all the information that people have. I feel like even if we just left people to, I've never been so confident in saying to somebody, go ahead and Google that. You know, they're not going to find better information that this new formula is incredible, monumental. Which one was that, Megan?
The butyrate.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I have that written down somewhere.
You're fine. I think that was awesome. I mean, obviously we can come out with more information as the days go by. Like if you come up with something tomorrow, patients, just hop on a live, do a live video and just say, hey, I just read this or whatever. So we can just keep informing everybody, as we go along.
Yeah. And it's incredible. I mean, it really is, the amount of information, even from other sources, that are exactly what Plexus is saying and exactly what they're all about. It's awesome.
Are we good? Anybody else?
I just want to mention one other thing because it's such a big deal with so many people, and that's lactose intolerance. And that Lactobacillus acidophilus, which is supposed to increase by 300 times, or help people's, that particular bacteria increase. And that produces vitamin K as well as lactase, which is the enzyme that breaks down lactose. So when you have a lot of people who are really, that is such a common deal right now, people who cannot handle lactose. And the reason for that, by the way, is because when they homogenize or pasteurize milk, corporate milk, they take that lactase out. And that's why people have lactose problems, because the lactase has been removed because during the high heat, and therefore they have lactose issues because there's nothing there to break it down. So that Lactobacillus acidophilus will help with that. So these are some of the more detailed stuff, but just if you can remember the highlights, everyone, like the fact that you do have a bacteria that's going to negate or positively impact these very specific things along the lines of autoimmune diseases, weight loss, and there's a specific reason, because so the bacteria that we're going to increase, say it again for me, patients.
Akkermansia.
Thank you. That one is going to, if people lack that bacteria, they are going to be more apt to gain weight. So we're going to increase the bacteria that are causing these things so that we can counter the problems themselves. Autoimmune diseases, lactose, psychological disorders, immune deficiencies, and weight problems. I think I covered them all. So I don't know. I just wanted to wrap that up with that.
And nobody does not need this. I guess if I can say that as a general statement. So it is virtually impossible for someone to eat a diet completely able to give this to your body. If that makes sense. Did I say that right? Yeah, it's virtually impossible this day and age. Like you can't eat that many raw superfoods to cover what would be needed in order for your gut bacteria to produce enough of the neurotransmitters, all this stuff to be combating any of these autoimmune diseases or any of this stuff comes at you and says, but I eat clean and I eat so much organic food, and it's unfortunate, but some people don't make the connection between taking antibiotics and other things like that. They just don't understand what they've already done to their system that has, backtracked for so long that they still need it. They still need this.
Okay. Awesome job, ladies.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys for being on the call with us, and we'll get it posted in the team page for the other ones. But thank you, Erin, for recording it for us.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. Thanks, ladies. We appreciate all your input.
Thanks, Megan, Erin, and Tanya, too.
Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Bye.